Okay, it's day 2. Well, it's day 1,000,000, depending on how you're counting. But this is the next day as far as this thing goes. Assuming you start counting at 1, that would make this 2. In any case, it's been overnight. Okay, let's start doing stuff. Okay, well, that is not terrible. You know, a little bit of sandpaper or something, but not much. I'll leave it as is for now, actually. Yeah, it's not so bad. Gee, I wonder if the truss rod works. Okay. I'm not sure this really could have been better. Maybe a little bit, but up here it could have been over a little bit. Down here. Okay. It's almost as good as it could have been. You know, almost as good as possible. This is slightly off, but just because it's slightly off doesn't make it worse than other places where there's nothing I could have done about it. So yeah, in principle I should do something. But in practice, I just want to see this thing play, so I'm not going to get tangled up in the finishing and the fine details until after I see it work. But nice. Much more solid than when it came in, definitely. But next, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I definitely wanted to take it apart and check it out. Next time. See if we can have a better look at this. Can you see that? Yeah, probably not. Here. Let's look at it like this. So the neck is kind of interesting the way it mounts. as you may recall. It mounts on a spring. Let's see if we can. And this is probably not going to work so well. But anyway, you mount a spring. Like so. Whoops, earthquake. Is that going in? Yeah, I think it is. Okay. But the point is, it's an adjustable neck. Yeah. So it's like time for a neck reset. Get out the screwdriver. Problem is it's not very steady. I mean, it's just not very good. So in principle, I should go in there and do something to make it so the neck doesn't go back and forth so much. I mean, I think that's why they had that extra screw, to try and prevent that, but it's also not a very good fit in the pocket. Yeah. Okay, well, and there's big gaps everywhere. Yeah, I can see why they decided they needed that extra. That's sort of like a built-in whammy bar with that spring. But, yeah. The other guy who's, I guess he had a blog where he fixed one of these things, he glued his neck in. And I kind of don't blame him. It's kind of sitting on a spring. Huh. You know? Yeah, so I don't know. What I'll probably do is just shove something underneath it. Put a shim underneath so that it's tighter, and maybe there'll be a little bit less of this back and forth, and maybe I'll put the extra screw back in. I don't know. Yeah, maybe later. I don't know. I should move this up. You're not going to see it anyway. That's a little better, but no, not really. It actually sucks. Wonder how straight it is. Not very. See if I can figure out where the center line is. That's what I'll do. If that comes off. No. Yes, it does. I'll use this as my straight edge. Hey, come on, you're supposed to come off. Well, anyway, this one's not cooperating. Not. Well, it's not going to work anyway. Find the center line. Good luck with that. Where do you want the center line? Do you want it over there? Or do you want it over there? Yeah. I don't know. Well, anyway, I'll fool around with this and I'll let you know how it goes. How's that sound? Okay, so I'm using my sacrificial 2x2 as a straight edge centerline marker. Clamped it onto the fingerboard, the neck, with the neck resting in its most natural position. And yeah, the real question is where do you want to mount the tailpiece? And I would like to center the clamp underneath the 2x2. Oh, look, there's no room for the end pin. We're covering up the end pin. Well, gee, that's too bad. I'll have to drill another hole or something. But you see, this is why I put that extra block of walnut in there, so that is this thing focusing? Probably not. How do I focus? Is it the camera or is it my eyeballs? Anyway, that's the idea. I'm going to mount the tailpiece underneath the 2x2, and we'll deal with the the end pin later. Well, it's complicated, but for now I decided I want to fill that hole with a toothpick and some glue so I can get a little bit better bite with the extra screw. And I'll get back with you after we've done that. Okay, well, that'll take a while to dry. And I'll be needing that chisel. Well, I'm glad I spent that $2. Well, actually it was $8 because I got 4 chisels. But I like the 1-incher the best. Very flat. Yeah, I decided while I was at it I should do the holes on the headstock. Then maybe I can use all 8 screw holes if I can find an extra screw. On the headstock, I could do a cut and wipe with my handy flush cutters and my handy rag. Couldn't do that up here though, because there was a risk that the, what do you call that thing, a toothpick? would fall in. So I'll cut that off and do something about it after it's dry. So it's like one question leads to another. Where is the natural position of the neck? Well, okay, I put it all back together again. I probably didn't wait long enough for the glue to dry on the second screw, but I'm not going to worry about that because it's kind of solid, you know, and it's like, okay, well, it's loose, but you got to know that the strings are going to pull it in this direction. The strings are going to pull it in this direction, the neck. So you kind of, to figure it out, you make sure that's pushed, down, even though it's kind of loosey-goosey in there. And so, you know, I wailed on that screw, the main adjustment screw, to go about as far as I could get it. And, you know, the question is the bridge gonna fit? Right? Because, yeah, you want to take your straight edge, lay it along the fretboard, and does your straight edge clear the bridge? And yeah, I'd say just barely. Now, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see underneath the bridge? Well, you probably can't see it, the gaps. But that bridge will come down a little bit. And I think everything's going to be fine. The neck is sort of tight. And doesn't that sound great? The neck is sort of tight. And I'll try and line that up where the clamp is centered on the the straight edge. See, this thing can go back and forth a little bit, so you focus on the clamp, or at least that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna focus on the clamp. Wonder if my camera is focused on the clamp. I don't know. You're asking somebody who's not quite clinically blind to decide about focus. I think if I move it back, it won't hurt. Okay, so the tailpiece is going to go like that, and as predicted, it's pretty much the left of, it's going to be pretty much the left, in fact, even to the left of where the old end pin was. That's where I'm putting center, because that's where the neck wants to sit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure not too many people are going to be happy with the idea of a blind man lining up a crooked piece of wood to figure out where the center line is. Yeah, I got out my rulers and stuff to see if I could do better, But I decided, no, not really. Yeah, we're eyeballing this baby. Just so you know. Yeah, so I held the tailpiece in place with a little bit of duct tape while I poked in the, where the pilot holes go. I don't think I'd normally use duct tape on a lacquer finish, but yeah, out of fear of pulling off the finish, but nothing to worry about here. The finish is already pulled off. Oh, that's too bad. As you can see, some more finish came off. I knew it was a bad idea. Yeah, we'll try not to do that next time. Well, for better or worse, that's where the new tailpiece goes. I didn't drill pilot holes. See, you gotta remember where this thing was built. They would not have required pilot holes to be drilled at the factory because that would have been an extra step for the guys putting in the original tailpiece. They made it so you could just screw that baby in. You see, I think they use a special kind of wood. It's called sponge wood for the tail block. I don't think those screws reach the walnut. They might have just barely touched it, but I kind of doubt it. So that's the story on the tailpiece screws. Well, I did put some duct tape on the bottom of the tailpiece, to protect the priceless top. And as you can see, I'm getting ready to put the chainers in. But, hey, maybe we can peel off some of the chrome. That would be cool. Yeah, so my plan was to, I'm going to need 6 screws, so pick out which one I have 6 of. Well, it turns out on this guitar, there were 6 of these, and there were 6 of those. Well, so I have a choice, which is nice. So I went into my extra hardware, and I think those screws match these screws, so I'll use these on the headstock. And I might use those on the, truss rod cover. We'll see. Now, of course, those screws are too fat to go through the screw holes. So I got out my reamer. I was so pleased that I thought to try that out before I tried to screw them in. So yeah, I need to ream out the holes a little bit to get the screws go through. So there we go. So did I drill pilot holes up there? Do you think? Nah. I used my awl. A little bit of soap. I know the bottom screws don't match because the ones I had in mind were flat at the bottom. And so I couldn't get them to go in. So I just picked out a couple other screws that don't match. So I got 3 kind of screws holding that baby in. Pretty cool. Okay, so I used a file to clean up around the very end of the fretboard, and I think I got most of the glue off of the nut. I don't know. It's not super critical because this thing has a 0 fret. And I'm not sure what kind of glue they use to put it in, but I'm going to put 1 drop of glue on the back of the nut and put it up in there. And what kind of glue am I going to use? The one true glue. That's what. See, the whole idea is that it doesn't stick very well. I think Titebond will be great for that when you're trying to glue plastic. But, you know, different people have different ideas. So for now, I'm clamping it in with a piece of blue tape. Now, if the blue tape can pull the nut back out, I'll try a different kind of glue. But think of it as an experiment. Okay, now we're going to do some bridge fitting. The question is, where does the bridge go? Well, it's about 32 centimeters to the 12th fret. Yeah, I guess I should measure from this side. Doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it's still about 32. 31 3/4. So this will be around 64, 63 and a half maybe. Like right there. It's going to be right there. Here, I think I'll mark that. Well, I'll mark it after I turn off the camera. But you get the idea. You know, I think a lot of people go like this. I might go like this. Just to be different. Because it's sort of the shape of the thing. Going like this, I think, is just as good as, or even better than going like this. Yeah, I have my reasons. And I do want to save the fairy dust. Let's see, brown fairy dust is particularly valuable. Well, I'll have to do that off camera. But you get the idea. Yeah, there's a technique for everything, dude. You gotta slide the fairy dust collection paper underneath the sandpaper. And then you can just brush it off, like so. And then this will go into a special bottle where I keep brown fairy dust. Okay, so I decided to stop before I'd sanded it all the way flat. I mean, you can see, you know, well, maybe you can see, there's a different texture to the surfaces where the sanding was complete compared to the parts that haven't been sanded. So I went about 2/3 of the way out. And the reason is, there's not going to be much left of those little wings on the inside if I go all the way. And, you know, I just want to use it for a while and see how it works. I mean, things might change over time, and then I can try sanding it again. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, you know, stretching the sandpaper with my fingers, taping it down. Wasn't really tight enough. And I think there's something to be said for going this way as opposed to this way. You can grab it up on the saddle part and it's just easier. So, oh, okay. Wonder if that's been long enough. See if it comes off. Oh my goodness. It sticks. The one true glue sticks. Okay. Well, I'm going to put the strings on it and see what it does. Oh yeah, no bushings. Well, I'll keep my eye out for those. Oh my goodness, what have I done? I don't remember. It's been a while since the last video. I put the thing together. The first night I was about 1.5 steps down from full pitch. Then I put it up to full pitch And I've let it go for, I don't know, maybe a week. The reason being, every time I look at the neck, it looks different. I mean, it started out with quite a bow in the wrong direction. Yeah, I turned the truss rod, you know, to in principle loosen it by about 1/8 of a turn. Yeah, the truss rod. And I'm not sure how much that did, because this thing's just been sort of relaxing all by itself. And by now it's pretty straight. One of the things I did was, I don't know, loosened that extra screw so that it's not pushing down on this part of the neck that just sort of hangs over. It's not connected. Oh, there. Because that had like a drop off for a long time, you know, at first. And now this whole thing is pretty flat. I wish I could show you, but no straight edge. I've done a little carving on the bridge using my file and these things. I gotta tell you, those things are terrible. You don't want them. I mean, they're great, you see, because you need to cut little grooves so that the strings go where you want them. Because the top of that thing's pretty slippery, and you want to spread out the strings a little bit. I mean, you get a little bit of a fan coming out, and then it goes narrow again down at the tailpiece. It's not quite perfectly centered, left to right, but it's close enough. The strings are pretty nicely positioned, and the bridge is in kind of a natural position. There's still some, well, you're not going to be able to see it, serious gaps under the edges, but I don't know when or if I'm going to fix that. I would need to glue some more wood underneath the bridge so I could sand it some more. I mean, the real problem is this top is not like the original shape. It's kind of taller in the middle than I think is original. Because you can see this edge of the F-hole is lower than that edge of the F-hole, so the edges of, you know, this sides of the F-hole, or should I say these sides, these sides of the F-hole are a little low. And no, you're not going to see it, but the top, you know, the top has a little bit of a one of these. It's not as bad as it was, but it still goes down. That said, it's solid. Very solid. I like it. Yeah, okay, so I was doing some carving on this, and I took it down to like 80 thousandths at the 12th fret. 80 thousandths approximately. You know, I used that thing to measure, and that's only ever going to be approximate. Someday I want to get one of those dial indicator things. I mean, I have a dial indicator, but I would need to make a little jig so I can actually measure string height, or, you know, get one of those. That would be a lot more accurate. Maybe someday. We'll see. But, I mean, it has a nice sound. I don't know. Here, let me see. Here. I wonder if I can point this at myself and see what's going on. There. Hello down there. Well, anyway, let's play it. So that's where you first notice a problem. Fretboard's a little buzzy, so... But, you know, a lot of the notes are good. But... So the second fret's a little high, and I can go up the fingerboard. I don't know which fret's that. 7th fret's high. And there's a little bit more high stuff. But a lot of stuff plays great at 80 thousandths. So next, off come the strings, and I might knock the nut off, and we'll do something about the frets. I ordered a fret crowning file. It's not here yet. You don't want to look at that. I'm pretty sure I don't know what you're looking at, but yeah, I've been working on this is what I'm gonna do, my leveling beam. I got this square, looks pretty flat. So I glued a little piece of sandpaper underneath it. Yeah, with the silicone. Is that in focus? Who the heck knows? Which is kind of the opposite of the super glue trick. I do have some super glue. Check it out, but as you can see, I haven't opened it. So, yeah, might as well unclamp this thing now. It's been drying for at least 24 hours. I may let it dry some more because my crowning file, you know, I ordered a crowning file. It won't be here till tomorrow. Oh, look. Yeah, as you can see, it's sticking to my clamping surface, but that's 220. I'll level it with 220. There. Just an old piece of 220. I think it's the piece I was using to do the bridge. Got my felt out because I want to put something underneath the tailpiece when I take off the strings. Probably a quarter of a square one on each side would be good. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And so that's all for now. I'll show you when I start, well, I might show you when I start leveling the frets. But till later.